I Saw Air, starring Matt Damon. The Last Duel, The Bourne Movies, Jason Bateman. Ozark_TV, Office Christmas Party, Viola Davis. The Woman King, Ender's Game and Ben Affleck. Deepwater, Smokin' Aces. This movie is based on the true story about how a salesman Sonny Vaccaro landed Michael Jordan for the Nike shoe sponsorship of the Air Jordans. Ben Affleck is the director, as well as having a small role in it. Matt plays the eager and unflappable salesman that set his sights on the great athlete, who was being courted by Converse and Adidas. Jason is the marketing manager and Ben is the CEO at Nike. Viola plays the mother of the sought-after basketball rookie, who Matt must win over in his sales pitch because she runs the family. If you are a sports fan, I am not, then you probably know how it ended, but the journey is what is both interesting and comical. At the end, you learn more details with video and pictures of the actual people from the story. It's rated R for language and has a running time of 1 hour and 52 minutes. It's not one that I would buy on DVD. I think I mentioned that I am not a sports fan, but if you are, it would be a good one to stream. This film is beautifully executed with a killer cast and a fantastic screenplay. With a story we think we know, this could have been a dull film. But by showing us the nuances of how this unique deal got made, it manages to maintain tension and keep us feeling like we don't know how it will end. Viola Davis again shows us why she is one of today's finest screen actors with a beautiful portrayal of Jordan's mother. Matt Damon plays Sonny, the idea man, who lands Jordan's loyalty for Nike. Ben Affleck does double duty, playing Nike's quirky spandex-wearing CEO as well as directing. He makes sure the film has some moments of real humor and adds a memorable throwback soundtrack that runs through pop hits from 1984, the year the deal with Jordan was signed. This movie could have been a newspaper article that you'd read in like 6 minutes. There's really nothing that requires a scenic implementation. The whole dialogue feels like a business meeting, and, while that is the core scene of it all, it drags over a runtime of nearly 2 hours. I like the aesthetic and the attention to detail when making the time period come to life, and I couldn't say there would be any bad performances in the movie. Just nothing groundbreaking either. It's also a weird decision to only show Michael Jordan from behind. And it has like 5 endings. Every time you think it ends, there's another scene. Finally, I personally hate, "Where are they now?" text screens at the end of such movies with a burning passion, but as anything else, that's subjective. This is not a bad movie. It's just very bland. This film arrives around the same time as Tetris, a film about the battle to license the titular game. Air shares some common ground with that story, though I haven't yet seen Tetris. Air is also about rights and licenses, in this case, the rights of an athlete in relation to the products associated with them. On the face of it, these are not cinematically enticing ideas, but there are stories to be told and films to be made here, for these are not simply business deals but rather significant moments that have shaped our wider culture in important ways. Air is an entertaining if hardly innovative movie. The screenplay can feel irritatingly on the nose. A couple of times we're told explicitly that Nike isn't the scrappy startup it used to be, and at the end, we're nakedly told as if we hadn't already got the obvious point, that this was how things used to be. Except that's wrong. This is how things became how they are now. Yes, it's about how athletes, in this case, majority black athletes, became much more powerful and much richer. It's also the starting point that led to where we are now, where sport is a commodity to be sold, where authoritarian nation-states own sports clubs to sports wash their image abroad. Most of the performances are fine, with the exception of the always luminous Viola Davis, in stark contrast to some of the more comic performances that almost mug to the camera. I did laugh, and I did learn, but in the end, it's all a bit of capitalism soft sell, capitalism where the only consequences are good ones, uncomfortably wedded to nationhood. One character talks about how he misunderstood Springsteen's "Born in the USA" song, only realizing it wasn't flag-waving but rather cynical and questioning after many, many listens. Yet still that same song plays out uncritically over a montage complete with universally positive, "Where are they now?" updates on the film's key players. To cap it all, Jordan himself is peripheral and unspeaking throughout the film, barely seen, a matter of rights and image ownership. It's a decent film, but the subject matter deserves more thoughtful, critical engagement. Amazon Studios brings us Air, the moving and empowering story of how a marketing executive for Nike, Sonny Vaccaro, Matt Damon, believes that putting Michael Jordan's elusive talent into the sneaker will restore the company to its glory days, and does everything in his power to do so. This includes taking on top dogs Adidas and Converse. Going into this film, I was pleasantly surprised to see Ben Affleck returning to the director's seat, as he hasn't helmed a film since Live by Night, 2016, which was regarded as a commercial disappointment. His directorial work on Air was a chance for a talented actor-filmmaker to redeem himself, and I'm thrilled to say that he most definitely did, on both the storytelling and performing fronts. Despite not being the most unique nor extravagant, Air delivers a fantastically executed plot. It feels like a classic in that even though it's predictable, you're here for every second of it. You're locked in right up until the unforgettable climax that it so seamlessly builds up to. Alex Convery put together a fast-paced and campy screenplay driven purely by the strength of its characters. This ensemble cast is put at the forefront of the story, and they work in harmony together. Matt Damon leads the way brilliantly, followed by even more impactful performances from Ben Affleck, who is perfectly cast as CEO Phil Knight, Jason Bateman's comedic touch as a co-worker, and Chris Tucker's additional magic. Viola Davis is captivating in this film as Jordan's mother, Dolores Jordan. Marlon Wayans even makes a brief yet significant appearance as Jordan's former Olympics coach George Raveling. The only minor issue with this film is that it tends to drag with dialogue at specific points. This can cause a lapse of interest and momentum for your audience. But for the most part, Air patches those problems up with its swiftly paced 1 hour 50 meters runtime, and presents an extraordinary presentation of contemporary culture, and the birth of a piece of history, the Air Jordan brand. I know this movie isn't specifically about Michael Jordan, but this story is more proof of why he's the greatest of all time. It's crazy how much impact a single person can have. Not just on a sport, but on an entire industry. Even getting this movie made was most likely due to the draw his name still holds. As for the movie itself, it's a fairly standard based on true events movie. It's well made with good characters and performances by the star-studded cast. It's pretty funny, especially Ben Affleck's outfits. The story is mostly well told, although it meanders a little at the end. I had a good time with this movie. It's not something I see myself revisiting, but I think most will enjoy it.